From an angelic young princess nicknamed Lilibet, Elizabeth was always a queen in waiting, and it wasn't long before she captured our hearts.
In wishing you all good evening, I feel that I am speaking to friends and companions.
She's just an amazing monarch, and we're just so lucky that we've had her.
You're not supposed to do that. I'm not here. Go away. I'm not here.
She's got a great sense of humour, and sometimes it's a little bit wicked, her sense of humour.
Thank you for making me feel so old.
Her whole life has been lived for the service of the nation.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
She is quite simply the most famous woman in the world, and she really generates an exciting response in the people she meets because she understands that power that she has.
A life for the people, a life in front of the lens. Born Princess Elizabeth Alexandra Mary, April 21, 1926.
Queen Elizabeth is, I think, almost certainly the most photographed woman in the world. I think what will surprise a modern viewer actually is just the volume of pictures that there were of Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret in the 1920s and 30s. I think now in the context of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's quite careful, selective release of photographs of their children, we'd be surprised at just how readily photographs of these young princesses were produced and published.
With castles as her playground, the angelic princess captured Britain's heart.
Marcus Adams, who took some of the very first pictures of the Queen from the age of 7 months old. And there are really beautiful images created by him that show this sort of very whimsical portrait of royal life. In particular, in 1928, he released a series of photographs of a 2-year-old Princess Elizabeth sort of leaning forwards on her chin and kind of looking up in a kind of playful way that were hugely popular.
Claudia Acott Williams, Kensington Palace curator, reflects on a cheeky, playful toddler oblivious to the life awaiting her. The princess was dubbed Lilibet by her grandfather, an endearing nickname after mispronouncing her own name. At the age of 10, her world changed. Princess Elizabeth suddenly became heir to the throne. When her father became king, his brother controversially abdicated to follow love to America. And so began her public life, the future Queen's first address to the nation during World War II.
Thousands of you in this country have had to leave your homes and be separated from your fathers and mothers. My sister Margaret Rose and I feel so much for you.
And what you see is a gradual development from sort of playful pictures of the children in the garden and with their pets, increasingly to photographs of her as the Queen in waiting. Some of the most surprising images, I think, from the princess's teens are photographs of her training for the Auxiliary Territorial Service. And she spent a number of weeks undergoing training to become a mechanic and to really show that the royal family were supporting in the war effort alongside the people of Britain.
July 1947 delivered the uplifting post-war news England needed. A 21-year-old Princess Elizabeth was engaged to Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten, a Greek and Danish prince. They met as teenagers. The silk satin for the princess's dress bought with ration coupons, and the 4-metre train embroidered with pearls, together a symbol of rebirth and growth. The Duke of Edinburgh was by Her Majesty's side for 73 years.
He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments, but he has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years.
You know, it's a huge achievement for any couple, a huge honour to capture a picture like that. And it was really poignant for me to see them opening a card from their great-grandchildren. It was kind of a link between the generations, a visual representation of that link during difficult COVID time.
The next generation of royals was etched soon after marriage as the family grew, with Charles, then Anne, Andrew, and the completed royal flush with the arrival of Edward in 1964.
One of the most important royal photographers is, of course, Cecil Beaton. And he was commissioned to take the official photographs to mark the birth of each of her 4 children. I think one of those which really stands out in my mind is the photographs that he took of Queen Elizabeth with Prince Edward, her final child. And these are interesting in a few ways. I think, some of them show her holding Edward against her, her eyes closed. There's none of the kind of trappings of monarchy around her, and it's very much a sort of beautiful, intimate picture of a mother and a child.
In 1952, King George VI's health declined, and on his death, Princess Elizabeth became ruler of the Commonwealth, told of her father's passing whilst on tour of Kenya. An accidental queen at just 25 years old. From princess to queen in all its tradition.
Will you solemnly promise and swear to govern the peoples of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland?
I solemnly promise so to do.
Her Majesty wearing a specially made silk dress at her coronation in 1953, a 3-hour ceremony, the first to be televised, donning the regal coronation robes for photographs that would capture one of Britain's most historic moments. A newly crowned queen then sailed into Sydney, the only reigning British monarch to have visited Australia. Stepping foot on shore at Farm Cove in 1954, where Captain Arthur Phillip first flew the Union Jack 165 years earlier. The Queen and Prince Philip visited 57 towns and cities in 58 days, touring down under a further 15 times.
I mean, the last trip we did to Australia was, I think, 2011, and we all knew it was going to be her last trip to Australia, except we wasn't supposed to tell anybody that, certainly not the Australians. And of course, but the people, they knew that this could be the last time, and they turned out, and there were thousands. I remember in Brisbane, the crowds were huge. I mean, they'd been there since 6 a.m, and the Queen came across the Brisbane River in a boat, and people were fainting. And it was incredible. And but Perth, that last day at the big Barbie down by the river there, and she walked through, and people were so lovely. And I mean, all the kids had flowers, and I remember they've got this picture of the Duke bringing the flowers over to the Queen, and both of them looking at each other, and really lovely smile. That's my memory of that last visit to Australia.
Arthur Edwards has been royal photographer for the Sun newspaper since 1977.
In fact, I went to Australia when the referendum was on in Australia, when she made that visit that time. And I was on the plane going out there, I thought, I wonder if there'll be anything said, but I must say the Australians were perfect. There are a few people held signs up outside Canberra, by the airport there, saying it was time we looked after our, time we became a republic, but not one disparaging remark. And it was great joy for me when we came back and the result came in that the Australians had decided to be a constitutional monarchy. And I think the Queen was at Twickenham and presenting the cup to the Australian captain, John Hills, was it? And I think he was I think someone told me he was pretty much of a Republican, so it was quite nice. I was there for that. It was really nice.